Hey, welcome to United Talks podcast. And today, again, we're going to be giving you all of the news with regards to, Manchester United transfers. And we're talking about two players specifically now because Man United are kind of basically doing a midfield overhaul for the entire team. And the truth is, this is not going away. This doesn't seem to be going away. Mine are not looking like they're going to let go of signing players, and I've been kind of holding myself from doing so much because I wanted to find out what is actually the update and what is actually happening. So I've gone round and around and tried to find as much news as possible, and I can tell you with confidence that United are interested in bolstering the midfield, and it's no news. Everybody knows this. And now we're talking about two midfielders of great interest. I'll give you what the news report is saying, and I'll also give you my take. Because if I give you my take, I can get you to get a sense of an understanding of what's actually going on at Man United. And what Man United fans are saying is also very important in this situation. So let's get it started. Let's just get it cracking, basically. Now, the first one is basically Man United are interested in Elliot Anderson. It's no news. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's talking about United's interest in Elliot Anderson and everything. But I've seen other news with reports to Elliot Anderson as of today, 30th of March, 2026. And his links to Manchester City, right? But Fabrizio Romano has just suggested that Man United appear to be deciding between potential signing of either Sandro Tonali or Elliot Anderson. By the way, Tonali is 26 or thereabout, and Elliot Anderson is 24, right? And basically, Manchester United have Sandro Tonali very high on the short list as of June, as reported. For June, as reported, but the player will also be open to a move. Elliot Anderson, another name on the short list, but Manchester City are still ahead and with very serious interest. This is what Fabrizio Romano has said. Man City and Arsenal both informed on Tonali situation, and that is from a Nottingham Forest page, Nottingham Forest News. Now, with regards to that, let's look at what Fabrizio Romano said on Giving Sports. Then I'll give you some stats and all of that. So this is Giving Sports by James Beavis. Manchester United would absolutely love to sign Nottingham Forest. So it's absolutely love. It's not like Man United we brought you this news over the summer. Man United have been interested in Elliot Anderson for the longest time, before this season started. Now, they are interested in Forest midfielder Elliot Anderson this summer, according to Giving Sports senior reporter Fabrizio Romano. Giving Sports sources have long revealed that United want to sign two top central midfielders in the summer to bolster what is seen as one of the weakest areas of the team right now. While Casemiro has been rejuvenated since Michael Carrick replaced Ruben Amorim at the helm, Casemiro will leave Old Trafford when his contract expires at the end of the season, while Manuel Ugate's move from Paris Saint-Germain simply hasn't worked out. Now, Man United would be short of quality and depth next season, and new additions are needed to boost the squad. Now, Man United closely, so this is another news from Fabrizio Romano, and this is as of the last month, basically. One of the attributes of a midfielder that United appear to be looking for in their midfield is to have Premier League experience. And Nottingham Forest, Elliot Anderson, Brighton and Hove Albion's Carlos Baleba, Newcastle, Sandro Tonali, and Crystal Palace's Adam Wharton are all primary targets alongside Stuttgart's Angelo Stiller, according to Gimme Sports. Now, Romano has confirmed that on his YouTube account on Tuesday that the Red Devils would absolutely love to sign Elliot Anderson from Nottingham Forest. Fabrizio Romano said Nottingham Forest, for Nottingham Forest, the name they absolutely appreciate, I would say they absolutely love, and Manchester United is Elliot Anderson, and he's doing fantastic at Nottingham Forest, English talented. So a player that they are really closely monitoring. So Anderson is on the list at Manchester United, yes, but this is only but is he the only name? No, because Man United's situation in midfield will depend on several factors. So Man United are interested in Anderson, and I'm going to give my take. So basically, this is my take with regards to this whole Elliot Anderson situation. Now, for Man United to sign Elliot Anderson, that means they'll have to fork out a little bit of money when it comes to like £100 million, right? And Man United don't have that sort of money to basically fork out that amount of money. I mean, the Man United doesn't have that fund. They don't have the funds to actually bring out to buy a player of Elliot Anderson's ilk. Now, as of March 21st, there was also news that Manchester City were in advanced conversations with Manchester United and Chelsea target Elliot Anderson's agent. Fabrizio Romano has an interesting update on Manchester City's pursuit of Elliot Anderson, with talks clearly quite advanced. Although Romano is stressing that nothing has been completed yet, it sounds very much like Man City are currently in pole position to land Anderson this summer. However, speaking on his YouTube channel, Romano also mentioned that Man United still remain very attentive to the Nottingham Forest midfielders' situation. Now, this is similar to what BBC Sport have as reported on Anderson's future, while Chelsea are also understood to be keen on the England international as potential replacement for Enzo Fernandez, as we expect, as was reported exclusively. Fabrizio Romano also provides clear details on Elliot Anderson's transfer saga, discussing the latest on Anderson's future. Romano explained how Manchester City have moved to an advanced stage of their talks with the players' representatives. Now, Man United fans will be interested to hear, however, that they don't seem to be entirely out of the race, not just yet. Man City are pursuing to sign Elliot Anderson. They are in advanced talks. It's just all Fabrizio Romano repeating all these rambles and stuff, and he just kind of goes repeating, so it gets kind of super annoying. But we're gonna have a look at what BBC Sport is saying, right? And we will look at that. And yeah, now with regards to that, we'll look at like the situation with regards to that. Now, so it is super interesting basically that Man United basically want to sign a player like Anderson, and we're keeping tabs on him. We're trying to, build momentum to replenish the midfield. But the guy is actually going for around £100 million, right? And, to an extent, I would say that Nottingham Forest are very difficult to do business with. That's a fact. Nottingham Forest are very difficult to do business with. Now, we'll give you basically some, maybe based on scouting report, and just give you Anderson start, then we go to the next one in the next minute. Now, Nottingham Forest are facing trouble this season, sitting 17th place in Premier League as of today, but they still have some great talent in their squad. Anderson has caught their attention, having played 15 games in Premier League, in the EPL, over 1,350 minutes, scoring 1 goal and assisting 1. When he joined Nottingham Forest in 2024, he had 22 million euros market valuation. Right now and this is just basically a scouting report as of December. So by now he's played over 30 games. I just wanted to reach out, talk about some stats before we move on. Manchester United, Manchester City and Real Madrid are top clubs that have been linked with the player in the past few weeks, but there may be a huge asking price for Anderson next summer. In Anderson's scout report, this article is going to look at his role, the role he plays at Nottingham Forest under, the various managers that they've had. Basically, he helps them in all phases of play, and his best traits, some improvements in his game, and basically what we actually think about him, and what this article actually thinks about him. Elliot Anderson is a great two-way player with a strong defensive and offensive trait. Now, when compared to other players in his position in Europe's top 5 leagues this season, he ranks in the 92nd percentile for defensive duels per 90, which shows that he's eager to challenge opponents, but ranks in the 47th percentile for defensive duels won. Mark that. This shows that although he's eager to jump into defensive duels, his efficiency in those duels could be improved. Surprisingly, he ranks in the 98th percentile for touches in the opponent's penalty area, showing that he does like to join the attack and is comfortable with touching the ball in the final third. He also ranks in the 80th percentile for dangerous passes per 90 and 84th percentile for progressive passes per 90, which shows that he is a forward-looking midfielder with tons of vision on the pitch. Now, in truth, one of the reasons top clubs are looking for Anderson is due to his defensive positioning and awareness, right? He understands zonal marking and should be able to keep between him. He should be able to understand how to manage the space between himself and other players. He's such a good player, and basically we could go on and on talking about this player, and we could analyze and everything, but it is what it is. We will leave it there and move on to the next player that Manchester United could be signing in the summer, as news has popped out over the last couple of hours that Man United are in contact with Sandro Tonali's camp. This was from Fabrizio Romano as of 30th of March 2026. And in truth, I was going to do a specific news on Sandro Tonali weeks ago, but I think I got carried away with all of the games that were going on and everything. And now it's good to talk about it now, because this one isn't just going to go away, unfortunately. And rumors around Sandro Tonali leaving Newcastle have actually surfaced and has been going on for weeks. Now, this is from a Newcastle website, just basically reporting what Fabrizio Romano has said on his YouTube channel. And this is what the Newcastle, I think you'll find this on Talk of the Toon, which is a Newcastle website. It says it's starting to feel more and more inevitable that Newcastle are going to have to face the reality of losing one of its own most coveted stars this summer. They said we were already much resigned to losing Tino Livramento, who is another player that I'm thinking about that Man United should attempt to sign, especially for that right back spot. But they said losing Tino Livramento at the end of the season, with Manchester City sniffing around for months now as the fullback stalls over a new deal. And Tino Livramento will do so well in that Manchester City defensive line. But rumors around Sandro Tonali, while quickly rubbished in February, haven't gone away. And if anything, they only seem to be building up momentum, with claims and counterclaims last week on the gentleman's agreement to leave. So apparently he has a gentleman's agreement. Let's look at that gentleman's agreement. Now, we'll look at that gentleman's agreement. Sandro Tonali, this is as of 26th of March. Sandro Tonali's agreement could see Italian leave Newcastle this summer, and that is according to reports. Now, it was revealed recently that Tonali had signed a contract extension when he was serving his 10-month ban, which only made sense as he was going to miss practically an entire season's worth of football. However, it is now looking like if Newcastle fails to qualify for Europe this season, he is unlikely to see out his contract at the club. The Gazette also reports that Tonali has and his representatives believe that they have a gentleman's agreement that the Italian could look for a new club should Newcastle fail to qualify for Europe. This is what the Talk of the Toon is saying. And they are saying that Europa or that's in the Conference League may not be enough, and it's not mathematically impossible for Newcastle to reach the Champions League again, but it is highly unlikely. And while the Europa League may keep Tonali at the club another year, a place in the Europa Conference League may not. Now, after Alexander Isak's saga destroyed Newcastle's summer and adversely affected the season, Newcastle will be keen to avoid making the same mistake in the summer, and if Tonali pushes for a move, the club are likely to act quickly to find him an exit to draw a line under things. Now, this is what the gentleman's agreement is, that if Newcastle don't qualify for Europe, that they will lose Sandro Tonali. Now, this is where the crux of the whole situation comes in, right? And this is where I'm coming to. Man United have contacted Sandro Tonali's people, as Manchester United looked for someone to replace Brazilian midfielder Casemiro at the end of the season. Mind you, I'm going to say this because it's just based on reports. Tonali doesn't replace Casemiro. Tonali is a different type of player, in a different ilk. And if news continues to come up, and I am seeing more and more things that confirm, especially top-tier journalists that confirm that Sandro Tonali is going to come to Man United, then I can start to work on a player profile script for him. But yeah, now Newcastle's Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes are two names that keep appearing on journalist shortlists, and I think I brought you some news with regards to Bruno Guimaraes. Then while the Bruno rumors have been brushed aside, obviously it died down already. The Sandro ones will not go away, and now Fabrizio Romano has added his stake, claiming on his YouTube channel that Manchester United have been in touch with Tonali's camp to remain informed on his situation. Romano claims that Arsenal are also keen, but warns that the Serie A giants Juventus and other Italian clubs will not be able to afford the midfielder. Now, this is what he said on X. One of the names very high on the shortlist is Sandro Tonali. Tonali has been excellent recently, scoring for Italy against Northern Ireland and performing very well for Newcastle. Newcastle also expect potential movement around him this summer. It is also important to know that Manchester United have already made contact with Tonali's camp to be informed on his situation, and there is still no agreement or no negotiation stage yet, but the interest is real and consistent. Tonali appreciates the idea of returning to a bigger European stage if all parties align, so this one will be worth keeping an eye on. There is also interest from Arsenal, confirmed, but again, nothing advanced, right? Nothing advanced there either. For Italian clubs, including Juventus, the deal would be financially impossible. Now, this article from Ash Harrison of Doc of the Tune says Fabrizio Romano may not be as reliable as he would like you to believe, but it's worth noting that though Romano also came out and backed up claims that Guimaraes' people have spoken with Manchester United days after those rumors had been proven to be nonsense. So a pinch of salt is actually required in this one. This is what that article is saying. Although there's growing concern that Tonali may fancy a move should Newcastle fail to secure European football, the talk of a gentleman's agreement to facilitate such a move is utter hogwash. But that doesn't mean Tonali isn't ambitious and fully committed to the current project at Newcastle. So losing Italia may be something we have to face up to in the summer. Now, basically, looking at Tonali and what Fabrizio Romano has come out to say, it is worth noting that Man United are obviously interested. You can't take that away. You cannot take that away. Now, basically, the Gazette is also saying, this was as of today as well, earlier today, Romano delivers fresh Sandro Tonali to Man United claim after Newcastle agreement. Newcastle midfielder Sandro Tonali is very high on United's transfer shortlist ahead of the summer window, according to Fabrizio Romano. He's under contract until 2030 at Newcastle, but he's been heavily linked to the move away from the club this summer. Last week, the Gazette also exclusively reported that Tonali understands that he has a gentleman's agreement that he would be allowed to leave the club if they do not qualify for Europe this season. Newcastle currently sit 12th in the Premier League with 7 games to go. Sandro Tonali's exit is very likely, and it comes as after repeated comments from Tonali's agent Giuseppe Riso linking his client with a move away from the club. Riso recently said in the Italian media that a summer move away from Newcastle is very likely. Now, the Italian transfer expert Fabrizio Romano has added more fuel to the speculation surrounding the Newcastle midfielder by claiming that he would be open to a move with Manchester United and Arsenal interested. Now, yeah, so like there's not much we can actually add to that other than what has been said by the Gazette. But we're going to look at Sandro Tonali, and then we'll wrap the whole video up with Elliot Anderson. And just basically looking off FOTMOB, we'll talk about Sandro Tonali and then wrap it up. Now, with Sandro Tonali, he's 25 years of age, right? His right foot is his preferred foot. He's worth around 59 million euros, and Newcastle could be wanting upwards of 80 million for the player. His contract is potentially going to end in June 2028. So that's most likely going to be. Other reports are saying June 2030, but FOTMOB here is saying June 2028. That's when his contract's going to end. Maybe because he signed a contract extension, that's what takes it to June 2030, and it hasn't been updated here. Now, his primary position is central midfielder, and that is why I said he's not the replacement for he's not the replacement for Casemiro, because you will be killing his ability if you put him as a replacement for Casemiro in the defensive midfield position. His other role is defensive midfield, but he actually is a central midfielder. That's his primary position. You talk about stats compared to other midfielders. His touches, he's in 81% or 81%. Shots attempt compared to other midfielders, 75%. Goals, 72% compared to other midfielders. Defensive contributions, that is why I said he is not a defensive midfielder. So for those who are looking to combine him with Kobbie Mainoo, look at these numbers and then it will tell you defensive contribution is 24%. Then aerial duels won is 13%. So he's actually not a defensive midfielder. When it comes to chances created, we're talking about 88%. So he's looking like a central midfielder or someone who can play as a number 8, right? You look at his goals. He has no goals this season, but he has 2 assists in the Premier League with 25 starts and 29 matches total. He had 3 yellow cards, an average FOTMOB rating of 7.0, and he's played 2,045 minutes in total. He's done really well. A lot of greens and blues here, but some yellows as well, especially in the Champions League and against big teams like Manchester City, where they lost. And obviously all his yellows come against big teams, Barca, Man City, and Man City in the Premier League. So obviously he's doing really well. All greens and some yellows as well. But like I said, coming from Brescia to AC Milan on loan, and then to Brescia, back from loan, and then back to AC Milan from 21 to 23, and then in 23 was signed by Newcastle, and then he had that 10-month ban and everything in between and all that. Yeah, he's such a good player, right? And he will be a good addition to Manchester United. Then we go to another player in Elliot Anderson that I am particularly interested in. Let's have a quick look at him and give you just our take, right? Elliot Anderson. Now, Elliot Anderson is basically another player that Manchester United is interested in. Also wears the number 8 shirt, just like Sandro Tonali. He's 23 years of age. He's worth around 47 million euros, which could rise to 100 million based on things. Now, he's listed as a defensive midfielder. But if you look at his heat map, it shows it gives you central midfielder vibes. He also plays as a central midfielder and a left winger. So that tells you a lot. Now you look at, and that is where I feel that maybe Elliot Anderson could be that player, right? Touches, 96%. Compared to other midfielders. Chances created, 82%. So still giving central midfielder vibes. Shot attempts, 69%. Goals, 47%. So doesn't score so many goals. And then aerial duels won. That is where it gives you that defensive midfielder vibes. 87%. Chances created, 82%. Still high. defensive contribution, 76%. Right? So it's super interesting. Super interesting. He came from the Newcastle Academy, went to Bristol Rovers on loan, came back to Newcastle, and Newcastle sold him to Forest, and boom, the rest is history. 2 goals, 2 assists, 31 started, 31 matches in total, 2,774 minutes, 7.5 rating on FOTMob, and yeah, 6 yellow cards, so many greens and blues, barring 2 yellows, and it's against top teams. He did well against Brighton, did poorly against Brighton, and poorly against Midtjylland, but they still won that game. Similar numbers to Sandro Tonali as well, central midfielder and all of that. In his career, played for Forest 83 times, 4 goals. Newcastle 53 times, no goals. Bristol Rovers 21 times, 7 goals. And Newcastle again 2 times, no goals. And he started his youth career at Newcastle. So it is what it is. He's such a good player, and then he's going to go for a really high value, because obviously Manchester City are also interested. Yeah, so it is what it is. Let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section about these 2 players that Man United could be interested in. We just try to do a little bit of a deep dive into the kind of players that Man United are interested in, and how we can actually make headway with, signing midfielders to replace Casemiro. Now, if you look at, before we wrap up, let me just look at Nottingham Forest starting lineup, because if you look at the overall starting lineup, it tells you a bit of an idea. So that is pretty much what I've been saying. Now, you have a player like Sangare in that midfield in their 4-2-3-1 formation, and Sangare plays as the defensive midfielder, while Anderson plays as the number 8, and then Morgan Gibbs White plays as the number 10. You have Hudson on there on the right, and Hutchinson Hudson on there on the left, and Hutchinson on the right. So Sandro Tonali has played, Elliot Anderson has played as a central midfielder, while Sangare plays as the defensive midfielder. Make of it what you will. Can Elliot Anderson be that defensive midfielder that we need, that screens the defense, that covers, and all of that? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Goodbye, and God bless.